Hi, welcome to Talking Books and Stuff, the program that talks all about books and writing and stuff. Here's your host, Dennis Rimmer.
Welcome back. It's Talking Books and Writing and Stuff, and today we're talking books and writing and a whole lot of other stuff, I hope, with the Mistress of the Dark, Elvira. The book is yours cruelly. The real person is Cassandra Peterson, and hello to you from up here in frozen Saskatchewan. How are things in Hollywood?
Oh, they're great. They're warm. Yeah. Oh, wow. You're way up there, right?
Yep. Oh, well, it's a dry cold. And I've never figured out...
Yeah, that makes a difference. Yeah, it's like Las Vegas, a dry heat. Right?
Yeah, I never figured out what that's supposed to mean, but...
I don't really get that myself. You're right.
We're talking with Cassandra Peterson, author of Yours Cruelly, Memoirs of the Mistress of the Dark. Elvira is her outgoing persona, to say the least. So... You and I are about the same vintage. Cassandra, what inspired you to write a memoir at this time?
I've been thinking about doing a memoir for years and years. Honestly, so many people had said to me, you have got to write about your life, because I did have a pretty interesting life even before Elvira came along. So I'd written little essays and little poems and little stories down over the years. But finally, I was coming up on my 70th birthday, and a friend of mine, Pamela DeBar, who wrote I'm With the Band, said to me, honey, if you don't get an agent and get a publishing deal, you will never write this. It's just never going to happen. That's the only way to do it. You get a deadline, you get some money, and you sit down and do it. And she was 100% right. She turned me on to her agent in New York, her literary agent. We got a publishing deal, and then I had to sit my butt down in a chair and really do the work.
And the rest is history. And the secret, I think, to a memoir, an honest one, is that you have to be blunt and forthright, even if you step on any toes. Is that what you found?
Absolutely. I made a decision. There were two ways to go with it. Just talk peripherally about my life, or to really spill all the beans. And at this age, I thought, why keep things a secret? Why not just go for it? I'm not lying about anybody. I'm not saying bad things about anyone unless they deserve it. It's just better to be honest and really, really talk about your life in a lot of detail. I think people find that much more interesting. I'm a huge, huge reader of autobiographies, especially those of people in rock and roll. And I definitely find the most interesting ones are the ones where they really go deep, talk about their experiences. The other ones, they're kind of like, who cares?
They're kind of like cut and paste out of various magazine stories and stuck in a few facts here and there, and that's about it. So
yeah, there's too many that are like that, let me tell you.
So when you're young, you didn't necessarily play with Barbie dolls, as you say. You like to chop them up and throw them in a cauldron. Well, not quite, but... so you've always had this streak, I guess, in you to do, not shocking things, but push the boundaries. Has that always been your life pattern?
I think it has. I didn't really realize it, but someone said to me not long ago, wow, you were a serious risk taker. And I thought about that. I never thought of myself as a risk taker, but looking back at my book, and I've kind of been listening to it on audio recently. I haven't listened to the whole thing all the way through yet, but I was going, I did a lot of very risky things. And I don't know if I would advocate that to other people, because it could have turned out pretty badly. I just was lucky. I took a lot of risks, and they eventually paid off.
And one of them was going to Las Vegas when did you graduate from high school yet before you went to Las Vegas to be a showgirl, or did that come afterwards?
Yeah, I got the job when I was on spring break in my senior year, and the show started a month or two after I graduated from high school. So I did get my high school diploma, believe it or not, and then headed to Vegas right after that. Yeah.
And you were dancing. There's some pictures in the book.
I'm not sure what you're... Was there another part of the question? I think I just went into that and didn't go.
Well, that's okay. This is free form. It's like improv. We're like the Groundlings on a podcast. Yeah, you're in Las Vegas performing in some shows, quite risque at the time for some of them. And then Elvis Presley gave you some good advice. What was that?
Yeah, I was a showgirl performing at the Dunes Hotel in a show called Viva La Girls. I got to meet my idol, Elvis Presley, and he, after a whole evening of hanging out together, he told me that I should get the heck out of Vegas, which was a hard one for me to take because it had been my dream as a kid to get to Vegas and to be a showgirl. So somebody suddenly telling me this is not what you should be doing with your life was pretty, I don't know what the word is. It was just shocking to me. But that somebody happened to be Elvis Presley, so I took his advice. I think if it would have been, the mailman telling me that, things might not have been any different. But I was, at the time, the youngest showgirl in Las Vegas, and I always say to people, if not for Elvis, I, right now, would probably be the oldest showgirl in Las Vegas.
Right. So, yeah, you would have been by now. So, but you had some encounters along the way that were less than pleasant, I determined from the book. Certain Welsh singer who, it's not unusual to hear strange stories about him. He didn't treat you very well, apparently.
No, I don't know. I found myself, in a very compromising position with him or two, and he was disappointed by me. I was actually, believe it or not, a virgin, and the fact that he couldn't believe that, since I was dancing around on stage in Las Vegas in my, skivvies, was I can see where he would have drawn that conclusion. But I had been telling the truth, and he it just treated me like I was lying, and I was making things up, and just so it all went very far south after that.
Right. And after Las Vegas, you ended up touring with a band in Italy and other places, and so I didn't know you were a singer, so obviously you're a singer as well.
Yes, well, I took Elvis's advice about that. I mean, I actually sat at a piano with Elvis Presley while he played, and we sang together. And he said, you don't have a bad voice. He said, I think with a little, vocal lessons, you could make a career singing. And I went out the next day, and I mean literally the next day, and got a vocal coach. And then just coincidentally got a part in the show I was doing. Got a singing number in the show as well as dancing, and started singing as a career. Ended up in Italy. Long story about how I got there, but got to Italy and got a part in a band as one of the lead vocalists, and traveled around with them for around a year. So Elvis's advice, again, not only the getting out of Vegas part, but the, stop dancing and get into singing or something, which I think is a better career move. Dancers don't very often make it to the big time. Very, very, very few. Unless you're a really spectacular dancer, and I certainly was not. But anyway, so yeah, he changed my life in many, many ways.
And then we go to Hollywood and a group called the Groundlings. I've heard of it before. Where did that name come from?
Well, the Groundlings is what they called the people who, back in medieval times, well, not medieval times, back in Shakespeare's times, would go to see Shakespeare's plays, and Groundlings would be the people that came into the play who could not afford the ticket, so they were allowed to sit on the ground in front of the stage. for very little money. So the Groundlings name came from that. But it's kind of Canada's version of Second City, and it has been very successful here in the U.S. And dozens and dozens and dozens of very famous actors that you see in films have come out of the Groundlings.
And there's lots of them.
Including, I was in the Groundlings with fellow Canadian Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman. Yes. What a tragic loss that was. Tragic loss, because he was very good.
I'll never get over that. I will never get over it.
And Pee Wee Herman and Ely McClurg, all sorts of names like that. So when you're doing Groundlings, it's improvisation kind of stuff. Now, does it always have to be comedy?
Yep, it's always comedy. It's always comedy. Never anything serious. So I had set out at that point in my life to be a comedian. And I thought that is the place for me. And it really turned out to be the best thing I ever did. Doing improvisation, I have to say, for anybody, whether your aspirations are to be an actor or not, doing improv is one of the best confidence-building things you can ever do. Because if you can get up on stage, not knowing what you're going to do, try to be funny with audience suggestions or whatever, and you can get through that and make people laugh or at least smile. The confidence you get from that is just mind-boggling. I actually recommended going to the Groundlings to my lawyer and to my doctor, and they both went and did the Groundlings, and they had to very often do speeches, at conventions and all that, and they said it was one of the best things that they ever did, because it gave them that confidence to stand up in front of an audience and feel relaxed.
And that's great. And then did that lead directly to being Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, a late-night TV host on KHJ in Los Angeles?
Yes, it did. I know that without the Groundling background, I could have never done that audition. And I went into audition with lots and lots of other people had been vying for the part. It was just a local station in LA, but when you're an actor, if it's paying a couple $100 a week, you're happy to get it. And I think the Groundlings improvisational training that I had, in fact I know, is what led to me getting the part, because the script they gave me at that time to read was really not very good. It was really, really old, typical, tired stuff like, come in, darling, drink a glass of blood, that kind of thing. Yes. And so I kind of messed around with it and did a few jokes about it, and I'm positive that's what got me the part. So in one way, it was directly related to the Groundlings experience.
And then the costume and makeup you came up with, you had a buddy help you out with that, right?
Yeah, one of my very, very best closest friends helped me. Once I got the part looking like myself, which is, redhead and not terribly busty, but kind of a normal-looking person. And I got the part, and we had to come up with a spooky look, because after all, I was hosting horror movies, which I loved, thank God, or I could never do this job. And he helped develop the look, the dress. He drew a picture of what he thought the dress should look like, what the makeup should look like, and the wig. He actually styled the wig after his favorite female singer, Ronnie Spector from the Ronettes.
Oh yeah.
And he called my hairstyle a knowledge bump, because that's what she called it. Ronnie Spector called it not a beehive, but a knowledge bump. So anyway, he helped put that together. And the day I walked out on the stage to shoot the first show, I think everybody's jaw flew open. They weren't quite ready for it. But I was afraid they wouldn't let me go on TV with that kind of cleavage exposed. But the strange thing is, the only comment I got was, "Can you make the slit on the leg higher?" So, ratings are ratings. What can I say?
And the costume and the outfit, it's very like, I'm a red-blooded Canadian boy, and I'm looking at it, I'm going, oh man, that's fantastic. And you show enough, but not everything, and that must be the secret, right?
I really think it is. It's funny. I was offered not long after I well, after I'd been doing the show for a couple of years, I was offered by Hugh Hefner, who I knew because I had worked with him before. He offered me a layout in Playboy magazine as Elvira, and I really had to think about it seriously because he offered me a ton of money. I mean, it was so hard to turn down, but I wasn't sure I wanted that kind of exposure, and I went to a Comic-Con around the time, and I was doing a panel, and I asked the audience, who were hardcore Elvira fans, what they thought, if they thought I should do it or not. And believe it or not, I'd say 99% of them said I should not do it because they said it would take away the mystery that Elvira has. You see a lot, but not everything, and I think they were 100% correct. And because of that, I did turn down the job. And unfortunately, the money, too, but, you know.
And Dolly, same thing with Dolly Parton. She, I think, was in Playboy, but it was nothing more than a few, like, almost bathing suit type shots, which is fine. And then she kept her mystique going. And you know how she says it takes her a long time to put on this trashy look. So,
No, I know. That's the same with me. It takes a long time to look this bad.
Right. And, of course, then you had an unsavory encounter again with a couple who said that they would take boudoir pictures of you, but no, they wouldn't be distributed anywhere. And, of course, they ended up everywhere. So that must have not...
Yep. Yeah, that I'll tell you, nothing made me angrier than that. I was so incredibly angry. I mean, they guaranteed that, you know, I was not shy. I'd been a showgirl. I was fine posing topless for them, no problem. But they swore to me that they would not be seen anywhere. And I signed a contract like an idiot. You know, I was, what can I say? I was like 23, maybe years old. And I was getting like $500. So I was like, hey, this is easy, you know. And then they took the pictures and they sold them to every trashy men's magazine in the world. And then, of course, along comes the internet.
Yeah.
And those pictures will never disappear.
Yeah.
Initially, I wanted to sue them. I mean, I wanted to go after them. I wanted to sue them. But I quickly realized by talking to lawyers and everything that all you would do is make the pictures more, you know, let more people know about them. And
right.
They would sell more magazines. So I just left it alone. I just hope I never run into them in a dark alley. That's all I can say.
That's right. Just a couple more minutes left here with Cassandra Peterson, a.k.a. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. And apparently the show was, like you said, a late night show on Los Angeles TV that you hosted horror movies and spiced with all those jokes that you come out are so bad they're good. Like,
thank you. It's kind of very Henny Youngman. You know?
Yeah, I know, and he's one of my favorites. But it's just hilarious. But there's a part in the book where you say you had to cast somebody, and Brad Pitt showed up for the audition, and you turned him down.
Yes, evidently I'm a terrible judge of talent because he came in and auditioned for one of the teenagers in my movie Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and I remember him so specifically because he was like, I think, the cutest guy I'd ever seen in my entire life, and I knew, though, that if he was in the movie as one of the teenagers, that Elvira would no longer be attracted to the actor playing her boyfriend. She would be all over this teenage kid, which was not good because, you know, he was supposed to be playing under 18 years old. So we reluctantly did not hire him. I wrote Yum Yum in the comments for him, and we didn't hire him. And years later, when I ran into him, I told him, Brad, I don't know if you know, but I single-handedly saved your career by not putting you in my movie.
That's right. But
I've got 5 minutes. Sorry.
Oh, okay. That's more than I thought. But the interesting thing to me about that is it would have looked good on camera, but it was not true to the movie plot, and that must be a hard decision that people who are putting together shows, movies, records, whatever. They have to make that decision that no, you're great, but it's not going to work for this part. So. That gave me an insight into the behind-the-scenes stuff that we don't know about.
Yeah, exactly. And that happens every day. I mean, I know casting people who have that dilemma every day. Sometimes they just look too good, or they're actually too good of an actor. All kinds of different things that unfortunately don't land the person the role. And it isn't always that they weren't good enough. Sometimes they're too damn good or too cute, you know? Oh, I was going to mention, I saw that you had interviewed Kathy Valentine for her autobiography.
That's right, yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm a friend of hers for many, many years, and she, that autobiography, I'm a big, big reader of autobiographies, and in particular rock and roll autobiographies. And I have to say that was, if anybody out there is looking for a good read, her book was just fantastic. I don't know if you got to read it, but I thought it was a wonderful book.
No, unfortunately, have never been able to receive a review copy of that book, but I sure had a great time talking to her, and it was good to see that they're kind of back in action. So, before we wrap this up, Cassandra Peterson, also known as Elvira, what do you got next in the next couple of years, or are you going to retire?
I have a couple of very, very big projects coming up, and I am not at liberty, unfortunately, to talk about them, but we've already started work on a new project. I'm also going to be in a major motion picture that will be coming out next fall, and I'm not allowed to say that I'm in that either. I'm so sorry. But I am working on this project that I'm really, really excited about, and that will probably, again, take maybe another, I'd say, couple of years to see the finished project.
Well, perhaps then we can get you back on this long-running Canadian podcast that goes around the world. Like you say, it's on the internet. It's up there forever. So,
yep.
Thank you very much. I didn't ask you about seeing Adnan Khashoggi display his male member in a washroom in France, but that's... You'll have to read the book, people, to find that out.
Yes. Yep, you'll have to read the book, and there's a lot more of that going on in there, too. Oh, boy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was fun.
Thank you for visiting with us today. This is Talking Books and Stuff with Dennis Rimmer. Contact him at dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Thank you, and may all the good news be yours. Oh, and don't forget to check out his book, The Great Canadian Notebook, available across Canada and at amazon.ca.